Hi, welcome into the NFL Draft by Chat Sports. I am Nic Rohloff, and we had a lot of players get their name called on day 2 of the NFL Draft, and we are going to go pick by pick and give you the exact order that these names were called in by these teams. There was a lot of trades made in the second round, a lot of trades made in the third round as well, so the order got out of whack. But a lot of good players fell. A lot of good players got picked, including a big-time run on interior defensive lineman in round 2. Troy Franklin, wide receiver from Oregon, not getting his name called today. That will likely be a top name in round 4 that gets off early tomorrow. But the beginning of day 2 got started with our good old pals in the Northeast, the Buffalo Bills, taking Keon Coleman, the wide receiver from Florida State. After a couple of trade backs in round 1, they get the potential wide receiver 1 of the future for Josh Allen. McConkey in a trade up for the Chargers out of Georgia. Ruke, the defensive tackle from Clemson, going to the Falcons as they trade up. Shocking that they took him over Johnny Newton, who went to the Commanders at 36. I thought Newton was a first-round pick. Evidently not. And the Falcons didn't even want him as he slipped to 36. The Patriots do draft a wide receiver at 37 after trading down. Jalen Polk, the guy from wide receiver, who just was absolutely dominant with Rome Odunze last year. We'll see how him and Drake May team up in Foxborough. T'Vondre Sweat, a very intriguing pick here at 38 because, well, a lot of people didn't believe he would be going off the board this early. The Titans end up grabbing their guy to pair up with Jeffrey Simmons on the interior defensive line. Sweat's an absolute tank and could be a run-stopping monster, but he did have some off-the-field issues in this draft process. Evidently, Tennessee did not see it as an issue and did not scare them away from drafting him early in this round, and they grab him at 38. The run on defensive tackle didn't stop with Sweat because Braden Fisk, the defensive lineman from Florida State, went to the Los Angeles Rams. And then the Eagles send 2 second-round picks, 50 and 53, to move up to 40 to take the unicorn that is Cooper DeJean. If you don't know why he's a unicorn, well, just look up Cooper DeJean. And yes, he is a defensive back. Another cornerback here, Kool-Aid McKinstry from Alabama. He fell. A lot of people thought he was going to be a first-round pick, but the Saints grabbed him, one of the better value picks so far in this draft. And it also started a cornerback run here as Kamari Lassiter went to the Houston Texans with pick 42. And then Max Melton from Rutgers heading to the Cardinals, brother of Bo Melton, who was drafted just a year ago. And then you could argue, like I mentioned a little bit ago, is best value of the draft, Jackson Powers Johnson, the interior offensive lineman, center guard, but it sounds like he's going to play guard for Las Vegas out of Oregon. He was someone who was thought of to be a first-round selection, but evidently fell. Maybe the concussion history is what scared people off, but all I know is that the Vegas Raiders got a steal in Jackson Powers Johnson. Seems like Andre James is going to stay at center for them, and they're going to play Jackson Powers Johnson at guard, someone who's an absolute dog, and Vegas fans, you're going to like him getting added to your roster. This was one of the best picks in day 2 of the NFL Draft. We're still going to break down every pick that was made, but if you are with me about Jackson Powers Johnson or Johnny Newton or Cooper DeJean on them being draft steals in day 2, let me know who was your best pick on day 2 from the NFL Draft. Edgerrin Cooper, the linebacker from Texas A&M, heading to Green Bay. And then the first running back off the board, Jonathan Brooks, going to Carolina. The Panthers actually traded up to take him. They look to get a nice little backfield help for Bryce Young, the running back from Texas. Tyler Nubin, potentially an Xavier McKinney replacement for the New York Giants with that pick in the second round out of Minnesota. And then another D tackle. Like I mentioned off the top, a lot of interior defensive linemen off the board in day 2. Mason Smith, a very high-talented, highly recruited player out of high school, never put it together for the Tigers. Let's see if he can do that for the Jaguars as he was picked 48th. Another D tackle here, Chris Jenkins, an athletic freak that really handled the interior defensive line well for Michigan, going to Cincinnati. And then another Michigan man, Mike Sandstrill, going to the Commanders. And then Zach Frazier, the center, going to Pittsburgh. Back-to-back picks here for the Steelers, by the way, where they went interior offensive line, Troy Fautanu in the first round, and then Frazier in round 2. And then the Adonai Mitchell fall ends at 52. Listen, a lot of people, including myself, thought he was a first-round talent and would go in the top 25 picks because that is the type of player he is. Evidently, there was maybe some character concerns. Ryan Ballard, the GM for Indianapolis, said it's bull crap that people said that, but they take him at 52. Could be an all-time steal if Mitchell stays on the field and is healthy. Ben Sinnott, the second tight end taken going to the Commanders. A little bit of a shock for me. You thought it maybe was going to be Jatavion Sanders from Texas, but Sinnott rose up boards as of late. A Swiss Army knife who even played a little bit of a fullback role for KSU. It's an interesting pick for Washington. Mike Hall Jr. going to the Ohio State, or went to Ohio State, going to the Cleveland Browns, staying in the state of Ohio. And then Patrick Paul, an offensive tackle, heading to Miami with 55. Probably not going to start year one for the Dolphins, but is a high upside pick. And then Marshawn Kneeland, the edge from Western Michigan, going to Dallas at pick 56. Intriguing selection there from Jerry Jones and company. More picks to get to in today's video, but we are sponsored by Game Time, my favorite ticketing app, because they have the lowest prices guaranteed. And I am someone who likes to procrastinate. Probably not the best quality, to be honest. I'm surprised I was even able to get this job with that. But it works out with Game Time because I am able to go and get the best price guaranteed with tickets last minute, because that is what Game Time specializes with. And when I'm looking for last minute tickets, there's nothing more frustrating than not being able to see what I'd actually pay in price and not being able to see my vantage point with the ticket that I want to purchase. Good thing for you, Game Time shows you where you're exactly sitting and has all-in pricing, which means you're going to see what the ticket actually is going to cost, rather than if it says $75, you go to checkout and all of a sudden it's $150. Nah, they're going to tell you it's $150 right at the gate. You're not getting blindsided whatsoever. Another reason why I love Game Time is because they have something called zone deals and flash deals where you can get a even better and cheaper ticket when they go with those deals. So it's the best place to find last-minute seats. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, but again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. That link can redirect you to your app store in the description and comments of today's video. One of my favorite picks in day 2 as well. Not all of them I like. I just want that on the record. But Chris Braswell going to the Buccaneers at 57 is one of mine. I like Braswell's game. Don't think he could ever be someone that is a lead man for a defensive line group, but he can be a great rotation guy to replace Shaq Barrett. Javon Bullard heading to the Packers at 58. Blake Fisher, an offensive lineman late in round 2, heading to Houston to potentially protect C.J. Stroud. And Cole Bishop, the safety from Utah, heading over to Buffalo to help that defense as they lost Jordan Poyer in the offseason. See if he's able to be an impactful player in year 1. Ennis Rakestraw Jr., the corner, Rakestraw, thank you, going from Missouri to Detroit. The Lions already drafted Terrion Arnold in a trade up, and now they go with another corner from Missouri. Rosengarten, the offensive tackle from Washington, getting absolutely blasted here at pick 62. Listen, this started a little run on offensive linemen because the next man, Kingsley Suamatia, which I'm pretty sure I did nail that name Suamatia. Dude, I'm telling you, I read the Beast from Dane Brugler, who did a good job. Shout out to him. I'm telling you, the way he had his pronunciation guide was not that. But they started the offensive lineman run, and the Chiefs traded up for this pick. He was a very good prospect. Some thought he could go late round 1, early round 2. Goes late round 2 here. He can maybe sit a year, or if they want him to start year 1, but a high upside guy for the Kansas City Chiefs. Renardo Green, the cornerback from Florida State, going to the San Francisco 49ers. See if he's going to be able to be impactful for San Francisco. We thought they were going to maybe draft a corner in the end of round 1, but was not able to do so. So they go here in round 2. All right, make sure you are subscribed to the channel because we are going to give you the best coverage here surrounding the NFL, the NBA too, but we're focusing on the NFL today. On the road to 375,000 subscribers, So join us right now. If you haven't already, you're missing out. 2 videos on a daily basis. We will have you covered. All right, on to round 3, and it started with Malachi Corley, the wide receiver from Western Kentucky. A big fan of this pick, and he's going to be a pest for a lot of those AFC East teams that have to defend him on a daily basis. Pair him up with Garrett Wilson, Mike Williams. They have quite the crew over there for Aaron Rodgers. Trey Benson, the running back from Florida State, joining Kyler Murray in Arizona. Big fan of him. I thought he was running back 1, went as the second guy in this draft, but big fan of Benson's game. Brandon Coleman, offensive tackle from TCU, up and down collegiate career, but he's going to hopefully head over to the nation's capital to protect Jaden Daniels. The Patriots also go offensive line for their young quarterback, Caden Wallace out of Penn State. Think he could start at left tackle if he wins the job. Junior Colson, the athletic linebacker from Michigan, joins his former head coach in Los Angeles. Andrew Phillips, Isaiah Adams, and Trevin Wallace round out this group of 4 going to New York, Arizona, and Carolina. And then one of the better steals of the draft, Cooper DeJean, the offensive guard from Kansas State, heading over to the Dallas Cowboys. Big fan of this pick. I believe he will start day 1 for Dallas. Same thing with Braylon Trice, the very productive edge going 74th to the Falcons. Head-scratching picks by the Falcons in rounds 1 and 2, but they finally get one right in my mind with the edge from Washington. The offensive tackle out of Yale heading to Chicago, Kieran, turns out to be a Bears fan. Old tweets from him in 2020 was very supportive of Chicago, so good pick there by Ryan Poles, I guess. Jonah Ellis, the athletic edge of Utah, also younger brother of Caden Ellis and Christian Ellis, who are NFL linebackers, joining Sean Payton in Denver. Delmar Glaze going to Las Vegas, another offensive lineman going to the Raiders. Kalen Bullock, the safety from USC. That defense was atrocious for Southern Cal, but lone bright spot joins the Texans. Matt Gonclaves, the offensive lineman from Pitt, going 79th. An intriguing pick here at 80, Jermaine Burton, going from Alabama to Cincinnati. Burton, very athletic, has off-the-field concerns, but if he's able to reach his ceiling and what he was projected to be coming out of high school, he was as a high recruit, went to Georgia, then transferred to Alabama, top target for Jalen Milroe a year ago. He could be a dangerous wide receiver 3 alongside T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. This actually might be the steal of the draft. Christian Haynes, who I thought, and our own Jack Sperry thought, our own Tom Downey thought, so most of us here at Chat Sports thought he was going to be a second-round pick, but he goes 81st to the Seahawks, who needed offensive line help on the interior. Great pick for John Schneider and Seattle. Tip Riemann, the tight end, athletic, maybe the most athletic tight end, him and Theo Johnson out of Penn State, who has not heard his name called yet, heading to Arizona. Trey Benson, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Riemann adding to that weaponry for Kyler Murray. Blake Corum, the running back from Michigan, started a run of Wolverines players. He goes to the Rams. Roman Wilson, the wide receiver, heads to the Pittsburgh Steelers, which is another good steal of the draft. Zach Zinter to round out the 3 straight Wolverines, going to Cleveland. Dominic Puny, a really good pick here in my opinion, heading to San Francisco. Offensive lineman, very versatile, can play outside as a tackle, can play as a guard from Kansas. Oh, thank God Sam Brown's not in here. Maris Liao-Fu out of Notre Dame. A lot of our guys didn't even have a draftable grade on him. The Cowboys take him in the top 100 with the 87th overall pick. Marshawn Lloyd from the Green Bay Packers. Scat back type, will complement Josh Jacobs and A.J. Dillon, who are thumpers well. Still kind of confused on why they are just going crazy running back heavy over in Green Bay. Tyke Smith, a safety nickel corner hybrid heading to Tampa. Him and Jalen McMillan at pick 89 and 92 for Tampa Bay might be one of the best 2 picks back-to-back combinations in this entire draft. If you're asking me, I'm a really big fan of those 2 picks for Tampa. Elijah Jones and Tyron Hopper sandwich in between at 90 and 91. Last a couple picks here in round 3. Isaac, edge from Penn State. Jalix Hunt, another edge from Houston Christian, going to Philadelphia at 94. Dwayne Carter, the interior defensive lineman for the Duke Blue Devils, going to Buffalo. And then Jarian Jones, the corner from Florida State, going to the Jags. And then the final 4 picks of the evening. McKinley Jackson going to Cincinnati. Another steal for Pittsburgh, Peyton Wilson, going to the Steelers at 98, linebacker from NC State, who allegedly does not have an ACL. For more, look up Peyton Wilson ACL, but apparently he doesn't have one. Cameron Kinchin, safety, who I really like, going 99th. And then pick number 100, Luke McCaffrey. Yes, it is the younger brother of Christian McCaffrey, who started his career as a quarterback, then went to wide receiver from Rice, and he is going to the Washington Commanders to end out day 2. Who's the best player available entering day 3? We just went through a lot of names, and you might see one or hear one that wasn't called, and we're like, how are they still available? AKA Troy Franklin, wide receiver from Oregon, who would probably my pick. Maybe it's Spencer Rattler, the quarterback from South Carolina. Let me know your best player available entering day 3 of the NFL Draft.